This could be a turning point for the New York Knicks. After a blockbuster move just shook up the NBA and shifted the balance for multiple teams, it looks like Leon Rose and the Knicks are getting ready to make their move. There's a player they've been keeping tabs on for quite a while, and that possibility just became significantly more tangible. And yes, you saw Devin Booker in the thumbnail, so let's not pretend otherwise. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. Chris here with another big update. As always, thank you for the incredible support. And hey, if you're one of the 71% of viewers who hasn't subscribed yet, this is the perfect time. We're dropping fresh Knicks videos every single day, and our weekly Friday live stream is just one of the many ways we're keeping things fun and interactive around here. With free agency and trade rumors flying in, we'll likely be going live multiple times a week. Also, our YouTube shorts will be returning soon, so stay tuned for that as well. Now, let's get into it. The league just got rocked, and with that, Leon Rose is positioning himself to act fast. It's official, Kevin Durant, who's changed teams more times than anyone can count, has been dealt again. The Phoenix Suns decided to part ways with him, sending KD to the Houston Rockets in exchange for Jalen Green. The report, broken by Shams Charania, stated that Durant is heading to Houston while Phoenix receives Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the 10th overall pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, and 5 future second-rounders. Durant was undeniably elite last season. He averaged 26.6 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, a block per game, and nearly a steal. He was incredibly efficient too, 53% shooting from the field, 43% from deep, and a lethal 50% on corner 3. But what does this mean for the Knicks? First off, let's acknowledge reality. Kevin Durant, a prolific scorer who's been loosely tied to New York since 2016, is almost certainly never going to play in a Knicks jersey. Not now, not ever. And honestly, the Knicks were never in serious pursuit of him during this most recent window. KD himself didn't list New York as a preferred destination, and the feeling was mutual. The Knicks weren't interested in shipping out players like Karl Anthony Towns or several assets to bring in a 36-year-old veteran on the tail end of his prime. So Phoenix, realizing things weren't working and needing to pivot, moved Durant to Houston, a team that could absolutely use a scorer and veteran presence on the wing. And from the Rockets' perspective, this is a smart pickup. Jalen Green, while still brimming with potential, didn't fit their long-term vision. Getting Durant instantly raises their ceiling. Now, none of that directly involves the Knicks, at least not yet. But here's where it gets interesting. The aftermath of this deal opens a window of opportunity for New York. Phoenix, with Durant gone, is clearly retooling. And for a player of Durant's age and contract situation, the Suns actually got decent value. 5 second-round pick, a top 10 pick in this year's draft, and Jalen Green, who still holds upside. They even added Dillon Brooks, a tough two-way guy who, while polarizing, can still contribute and round out a roster. But here's the angle we care about. Devin Booker, the franchise star who's been tied to the Knicks in rumors for years. If there's ever been a moment where Booker might reconsider his loyalty to Phoenix, it's now. This trade left the Suns with a young and uncertain core. Sure, Green is flashy and Brooks is gritty, but losing a player like Durant weakens the roster, especially short-term. Let's not sugarcoat it. Phoenix took a step backward. Whether or not it pays off in the long run, they are undoubtedly less dangerous today than they were yesterday. They no longer have one of the top 10-12 players in the league. Durant's gone, and while Booker is still there, and undeniably elite, he's been patient with this franchise for years. Outside of one deep playoff run that ended in an NBA Finals loss, success has been limited. In their last postseason appearance, the Suns bowed out in round 2 against the eventual champion, the Denver Nuggets, and it wasn't Booker's fault. He was spectacular, averaging 33.7 points, 7.2 assists, and 5 rebounds in 11 playoff games, logging nearly 42 minutes a night. The guy has done everything asked of him and more. So, what happens now? If Phoenix decides to lean into a rebuild, or even just reconfigure their roster around youth and depth, Booker might see this as the time to move on. The Knicks, with the assets, young talent, and a stable front office, might finally be in the position to strike. And that's why this trade, while seemingly distant from New York, could have huge ripple effects in the near future. He was hitting 58% from the field and an insane 51% from beyond the arc. He was absolutely on fire, practically impossible to defend. We'll circle back to what a potential trade could look like, but first, there's something crucial we need to highlight. Based on what we've seen from that brief look at a hypothetical deal, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Devin Booker actually wants to be a New York Knick. According to Stephen A. Smith, there's buzz around the league, though not something Booker would ever confirm publicly, that he's had his eyes on New York. Smith even admitted he hasn't talked to Booker directly, but the word going around the NBA is that the guy wouldn't mind heading to the Big Apple. And when you look at the overall landscape, that rumor checks out. Now Booker just got a new teammate in Jalen Green, a young scorer who averaged over 21 points per game last season, alongside 4.6 rebounds and 3.4 assists. He adds about a steal per game too. However, he's not known for his defense and struggled with efficiency, hitting just 42% of his shots from the floor and 35% from deep. Contrast that with Booker, who posted 25.6 points a night, along with 7 assists and 4 rebounds. He also averaged a steal per game and has made major strides on the defensive end. Sure, his shooting numbers dipped a bit this past season, but we all know what kind of marksman he really is. Nobody's doubting he'll bounce back. Booker's name has been consistently floated alongside the Knicks. This isn't new, and it's not just Stephen A. Bleacher Report recently spotlighted the Knicks as a serious team to watch if Booker ever hits the market. According to them, any move to bring Booker to NYC would likely need a third team involved, and Phoenix would need a compelling reason, like a reunion with Mikal Bridges, to even consider it. But from Booker's perspective, if he were picking an ideal destination, New York makes a lot of sense. Big-time market? Check. Elite point guard in Jalen Brunson, who could replicate what Chris Paul did for Booker in Phoenix? Check. A system that needs another creator who can generate offense on his own? Absolutely. Bleacher Report even speculated that if New York did land Booker, they could turn around and trade Karl Anthony Towns elsewhere. In that case, they wouldn't need Cat's offensive production as badly, with another All-NBA caliber guard now in the mix. And let's be real, Towns' inability to anchor a solid defense was exposed all year. Brunson has been clutch as ever for the Knicks, but Booker could give them the firepower to close games earlier instead of waiting for late-game heroic. There's also a different possibility. Instead of sending Towns out, what if the Knicks paired Booker and Towns together? They've been close for years. Remember, they were college teammates, and we've seen the Knicks go after college reunions before. R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish were one, Brunson and Josh Hart another. They even made a run at Zion. Later, they brought in Donte DiVincenzo, though it looks like he might be part of a trade-out. Most recently, they added Mikal Bridges in a massive deal. This franchise loves connection. The challenge? Assets. The Knicks don't have an overwhelming pile of trade chips. Same situation as when people talked about Giannis or other stars. If they want Booker, they'd have to get his commitment on an extension before finalizing a trade. That's the key piece. One of the trade ideas floating around includes New York acquiring Devin Booker and Nick Richards. Now, fans noticed the proposal didn't align perfectly with salary cap tools like Fanspo. It hadn't been updated yet post-Durant trade, but let's assume the logistics can be worked out. In that scenario, the Knicks would send out Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and Mitchell Robinson, 3 players who've been crucial to the team's identity. And yes, they'd thin out their depth significantly. Nick Richards is a capable center, someone I personally like a lot. But you can't ignore the impact of losing those 3. Fanspo estimated the Knicks would lose 5 more games over a season without that trio. And honestly, that's believable. Hart is the team's Swiss Army knife. Robinson is an elite paint presence, and Bridges contributes on both ends. It would be a massive swing and strip the bench of quality depth. So, what's the alternative? They could look into moving Karl Anthony Towns instead, or they could structure a more complex three-team deal. Either way, they'd be sending out a ton of salary, and most of it is tied to guys who matter. But here's the thing people forget in all this. Everyone says, oh, the Knicks won't trade that guy, he's important. But Devin Booker isn't just a guy, he's a franchise-altering, superstar-level talent. When someone like that becomes available, nobody should be untouchable. Everyone assumed Donte DiVincenzo was untouchable. The thought of the Knicks ever dealing him seemed off the table. He's been viewed as a vital piece, someone they truly value. So why would they move him? Simple. When a legitimate NBA superstar is on the line, priorities shift. If the return involves someone like Karl Anthony Towns, suddenly nobody is off-limit. Except, of course, for Jalen Brunson. Let's not fool ourselves into thinking the Knicks are hesitant to make tough decisions. They aren't. Julius Randle might be part of that conversation too. The truth is, if you're not named Jalen Brunson, your name can come up in trade talks. That's how Leon Rose operates. He's building to win, not to keep the same faces around for comfort. Players like Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart have already been linked to recent trade rumors. Personally, I don't think Hart will be moved. And Bridges? Only if something huge falls into their lap, something game-changing. A deal involving a player like Jaren Jackson Jr. or, even more tantalizing, Devin Booker, is when these conversations become truly serious. And let's be honest, the player I feel for most in today's NBA landscape is Devin Booker. Yes, that comment was made days ago, but it still rings true. The guy is arguably on par with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, maybe not quite better, but not far off either. The problem? Basketball's a team sport, and Booker is stuck in a franchise that seems more focused on playing NBA 2K than building a sustainable contender. Putting Booker next to Jalen Green and Bradley Beal isn't just awkward, it's a mess. That's not a big three. That's a chemistry experiment gone wrong. If there were ever a time for Booker to request a change of scenery, it's now. And the Knicks? They've already been linked to him as a potential destination. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if New York has already checked in on him, or is planning to soon. We know how this front office works. Leon Rose and his team are known for working the phones non-stop. They're always probing other GMs to get a read on player value. They do it with coaching hires too. Think about it. When they were looking for a coach, they didn't hesitate to ask other teams, what would it take to interview your guy? What's the cost in compensation? That same logic applies to players. They'll reach out to teams just to understand the market. What's your asking price for this guy? How much would it take? Not necessarily to make a deal right away, but to gather intel, to feed into one of the largest analytics departments in the entire league. That attention to detail is a big reason why the Knicks reached the Eastern Conference Finals last season. And now, it's all about taking the final leap, getting to the finals, and more importantly, winning it all. Adding Devin Booker into the mix unquestionably increases their chances. And it's not just about talent, there's history here. Leon Rose has had an interest in Devin Booker dating back to the moment he stepped into the Knicks' front office. That interest never faded. And then there's the Karl Anthony Towns connection. Booker's longtime friend and former college teammate. The dots connect more than people realize. So, what do you think? Could this really happen? Could New York actually pull it off and bring Booker to Madison Square Garden? With everything lining up, from internal interest to external conditions, it doesn't seem out of reach anymore. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, turn on those post notifications, and drop your thoughts in the comment. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and as always, go Knicks!